The sound of the hallway floorboards was wrong. I stopped my chisel in mid-cut and held my breath. Old floors have a tone. This building was almost 100 years old. White oak, laid by someone who knew what they were doing. Usually, when someone walked down the hall, the boards gave a deep, solid creak, like an old baritone voice. Now I heard a thin, hollow groan that vibrated up through my boots. The subfloor was rotting. I had known it for weeks, the same way I knew the sash cord in the west window was about to snap, and the radiator valve on the second floor hissed every morning at 4. The building was talking to me in the only language it had. Little complaints, tired bones, a quiet warning that no one else seemed to hear. Then someone knocked on my door. Sharp, fast, not polite. I brushed the walnut shavings off the small joint I was working on, set the chisel down on a folded cloth, and wiped my hands on my jeans. When I opened the door, the hallway smelled like old paint and a hint of perfume. And stress. You can smell stress if you live close enough to people. I was in a plain gray t-shirt, dusted with sawdust, sleeves pushed up. My hands were rough and nicked from years of tools and splinters. I was not the kind of tenant a new landlord usually wants to see. She stood there like she had stepped out of another world, white shirt crisp. Dark hair in soft waves over her shoulders, clean black pants, sharp jaw, dark eyes that looked smart and tired at the same time. I had seen her once or twice in the lobby. The new owner, Violet. She didn't smile. She shoved a folded paper against my chest like it was a knife. "We need to talk," she said. Her voice was tight. "About the 3 months of back rent you owe." I looked down at the paper. Big, bold numbers. Red stamp. Rent payment past due. "I don't owe back rent," I said. My voice sounded rough. I hadn't talked to anyone all day. "I have the ledger," she said. She stepped closer instead of backing off, even though I had half a foot and a lot of muscle on her. I respected that more than I should have. "The books say Unit 1B hasn't paid since November. I need the cash flow, Mr. Clark. Today, or I have to start eviction." Her hand shook slightly as she held up the notice again, not because of me, because of the numbers, because of the weight of this building, because something bigger than both of us was pushing down on her. "I didn't pay cash," I said. "I paid in labor. Boiler repair in December. That was me. Roof patch after the ice storm. Me. The old owner, Mr. Henderson, and I had a trade deal." "I don't see a trade deal in writing," she snapped. Her eyes darted up toward the ceiling like she was checking for leaks she couldn't afford. "All I see is debt." "Henderson didn't do papers," I said. "He did handshakes." I leaned on the doorframe, crossing my arms. "But if you want to talk about what this building costs, we can talk. Because the floor you're standing on has maybe 3 weeks before it drops you into the basement." She looked down at her feet. The board under her heel gave a sharp, complaining creak. "You're trying to scare me," she said, looking up again. "It won't work." "I'm not trying to scare you, Violet," I said. "I'm telling you the structured truth. This place is a beautiful shipwreck. You don't just need $1,200. You need someone who knows where the rot is." I stepped back and opened the door wider. Behind me was my little kingdom, neatly stacked lumber against the wall. A solid workbench. Planes, chisels, clamps, all lined up. The air smelled like sawdust, linseed oil, and coffee that had gone cold hours ago. "You want the money?" I asked. "I can write a check, it'll wipe out my savings, and I'll move out. Then, when the city inspector comes next month, and he is coming because they already flagged this place, you'll fail hard. And a developer will buy this building for cheap." Her shoulders sagged a little. She lowered the paper. "The inspection is in 8 weeks, she whispered. "The guy next door, the developer, he reported us for code violations. He wants my lot." "I know," I said. "He has been eyeing this place for years." She looked at me then, really looked, not just at the rent notice, not at my messy shirt, but at my tools, my hands. The way the apartment behind me was more workshop than home. "If I forgive the back rent," she said slowly, "can you fix it?" Quote, "all of it," I asked. Stairs, railing, subfloor, main beam, whatever is failing behind the walls. Enough to pass, she said. Enough so the city can't take it. This building was my father's. It's the only thing I have left of him. I can't lose it. I looked at the notice in her hand, then at her face. She was scared, but she wasn't running. She was standing in the problem, asking how to fight. I took the paper gently from her fingers, folded it, and slid it into my pocket. Keep your rent, I said. I'll give you something better. I walked to my workbench, grabbed my invoice pad, and wrote in big, clear letters. Labor in place of rent for Unit 1B. Materials paid by owner with receipts. Timeline, 7 weeks. Either side can end deal with 30 days' notice. No personal favors. Work only. No gray areas, no confusion. I handed her the pen. She read every line. Her jaw clenched, then relaxed. She signed. Her hand shook, but the signature was steady. When she passed the paper back, her eyes met mine with a new kind of look. Not anger. Not threat. Trust, forced into place like a tight joint. Welcome to the project, I said. The basement smelled like wet stone and old dust. A single weak bulb hung from the ceiling, but I had brought my own work lights. Bright white beams cut through the shadows and showed every crack in the old brick. Violet came down the stairs behind me, holding a clipboard like armor. Her nice shoes clicked on the concrete. Problem number 1, I muttered. What? She asked. Nothing yet. Just looking. I walked to the main support post. Old-growth pine, solid once, but the bottom few inches were dark and soft from years of water. I pressed my thumb into it. The wood gave under the pressure like a sponge. This, I said, is your real enemy. Can you patch it? She asked. There was a shakiness under her calm voice. No patch, I said. If we lie to the wood, it fails later. We need to reinforce it for real. New timber. Steel plate. Bolts. It's a big job. She exhaled and opened her clipboard. Papers, bank numbers, property tax letters, a loan notice. She laid them out like a bad hand of cards. Then she slid me an email printout. The offer. A holding company name. A price that was half what the land alone was worth. A 30-day deadline. He thinks you're weak, I said. He already knows the city is coming. He wants you desperate. If the building gets tagged, she said quietly, the bank can ask for all the money at once. I can't pay that. They take the place. I lose everything. So we don't let it get tagged, I said. We make it safe, obvious, and boring. Boring is good. Inspectors love boring. She looked up at me with something like hope. I have zero budget for contractors, she said. I can only pay for materials. That's it. I am the contractor, I said. I work better alone. I'm not staying upstairs while you break your back down here, she said. I can carry. I can clean. I can hold the light. We're partners in this, right? Quote. The word hit me harder than I let show. Partners, I repeated. All right, but lose the heels. Get real shoes and gloves. Splinters don't care about your manicure. She nodded. Done. She turned to go back up the stairs and then paused. Ford? Yeah? Thank you for not laughing at me, she said. The bank did. Banks look at numbers, I said, turning back to the beam so she wouldn't see my face soften. I look at structure. The bones here are good, Violet. They just need someone to care. She went upstairs. Her footsteps on the staircase sounded thin and hollow. I added, fix stairs before Tuesday, to the list in my head. 3 days later, while I was sanding the front door on the stoop, the real enemy finally showed up. A black SUV slid to the curb. The window rolled down. The developer. And he already looked sure we were going to lose. I was on the front stoop when I saw him for the first time up close. The day was clear and cold. I was sanding the front door, working slow to strip off years of cheap paint and get down to the oak. First thing an inspector sees is the front. If it looks cared for, he walks in with a different mood. I heard the low purr of an engine and looked up. A black SUV slid to the curb like it owned the street. The window rolled down. A man in a perfect suit leaned out. Expensive haircut, white teeth, eyes that had never carried lumber. "Ford, right?" he called, like we were old friends. "You the handyman?" "Public sidewalk," I said, not stopping my sanding. "Move along." He laughed. "Tell Miss Roberts I have the offer ready. Cash, as is. Before the city tags this dump and she gets nothing." The front door opened behind me. Violet stepped out, no heels today, old jeans. A flannel shirt that was too big on her. Her hair was pulled back in a messy knot. She looked tired, but she also looked more real than the man in the SUV would ever be. "I told you, Sterling," she said, voice steady. "It is not for sale." "It is a money pit, honey," he said. "You are drowning. I am throwing you a life preserver." "I can swim," she said. He smirked. "We will see what Inspector Davis says next month." He rolled up the window and drove off like he already knew the ending. Violet stayed there on the top step, hands clenched at her sides. She was shaking with anger. "He is the one who called in the complaint," I said quietly. "He is trying to force your hand." "I know," she said. "He offered me half of what the land is worth. He wants to tear it down and build glass boxes. No soul. No history." She looked at the cracked brick, the peeling paint, the tired windows. "Look at it, Ford," she said. "It is falling apart." I wiped dust from my forearms and stood up. I stepped closer but kept my hands at my sides. I know my hands are rough. I do not touch people unless I am sure. "Sterling sees a teardown," I said. "I see oak floors that can be saved, plaster moldings that can be repaired, and a slate roof that just needs proper flashing. He sees the skin. I see the bones. We can fix it." She looked at me, and for a second, the fight in her eyes turned into something like belief. "We have 7 weeks," she murmured. "Then we work nights," I said. A small, tired smile pulled at her mouth. "You really love this, don't you?" she said. "The work." "I love things that last," I said. Our eyes held a little too long. The air between us got tight, like a wire pulled. Heat ran under my skin in a way that had nothing to do with the sanding. I broke it first. "Grab a scraper, boss," I said, picking up the sanding block again. "We have a door to save." The weeks blurred after that. Sawdust, coffee, late-night radio. Early mornings in the basement. Evenings in the hallways. The sound of her steps above me. The scrape of her moving boxes. The soft curse when she dropped a screw. I got up at 5. I did the heavy work before anyone else was awake. Sistered joists. Replaced bad sections of pipe. Checked the main beam 3 times a day. At night, after her design calls, she joined me. To be honest, I thought she would quit after one long day. She did not. She carried lumber, even when it made her arms shake. She swept up debris. She held the work light without complaining, even when her hand cramped. She learned how to read a level and how to spot hairline cracks in plaster. One night, a storm rolled in. Wind slammed against the building. Rain hit the windows in hard sideways sheets. The old wires hummed. Around midnight, I woke up to a sound that made my chest go cold. A deep metallic cough from the basement. Then, a high hiss. Pressure, water, failure. I was out of bed in 3 seconds. Boots, flashlight, keys. I ran down the stairs 2 at a time. The air got colder and wetter with each step. The basement floor was already covered in a thin layer of water when I hit the bottom. A pipe near the boiler feed had split. Water sprayed out in a hard white arc, hitting the wall and splashing down toward the electrical junction box. The light over the stairs flickered. "Ford." Violet's voice came from the top of the steps. She was in an oversized sweatshirt and socks, hair wild, eyes wide. "What is happening?" "Stay on the step," I said. My voice stayed low, but it came out hard. "Do not come onto the concrete." She froze. I hit the main breaker with the back of my fist, then checked the panel with my tester. No power. Good. I dropped to one knee, water soaking into my jeans, and shoved a rag into the worst part of the split. I cinched it tight with a hose clamp, slowing the spray. "Bucket," I called. "Laundry room. Blue bucket? 2 of them." She disappeared and came back fast, feet thumping on the steps. As she leaned forward to pass me a bucket, Her wet sock slipped on the stair edge. She pitched forward. I dropped the clamp, shot up, and grabbed her around the waist. I pulled her back hard against my chest, keeping her feet on the stair and off the slick concrete. My forearm locked across her stomach like a belt. "I told you step," I said, my mouth next to her ear. She braced both hands on my arm. Her fingers dug in. "I know," she whispered. Her voice shook once. "I am sorry. I am okay. Just do not let go yet." "I have you," I said. For a moment the building, the water, the storm all went quiet in my head. All I felt was the fast beat of her heart against my arm and the way her back fit under my chest. Then I forced myself to let go. I put her back safe on the step, picked up the rag, and went back to the pipe. We got the water under control in 15 minutes. The floor was soaked, but the junction box stayed dry. The basement now smelled like rust and wet stone and the sharp bite of almost electric. As I checked the damage, something caught my eye. The split in the pipe was too clean, a neat scored line, not a random crack. I ran my thumb over it. The edge was sharp and straight. Somebody had cut it. Violet saw my face change. "That is not normal, is it?" she asked. "No," I said. I pulled out my phone and took slow, clear pictures. The cut, the spray pattern, the clamp. I took a video too, sweeping the beam in the pipe. "Evidence, Sterling," she whispered. "Maybe," I said. "But we do not guess. We do not scream. We document. We fix. And we keep you safe." I saved the photos in a folder and named it one word: Sterling. The next day, I turned off the boiler, drained the line, and replaced the whole section. No patch. Clean fix. I left the old cut piece on a shelf in case we ever needed to show someone with a badge. A few nights later, we were upstairs in the second-floor hallway. I had ripped up the old subfloor and was laying new 3/4-inch plywood, glued and screwed into fresh supports. It was rough work. Measure, cut, carry, drop, drill. My shoulders burned. The air was cold and damp. My gray t-shirt clung to my back. Violet was sitting on an overturned bucket, trying to organize my tools into neat rows. It made no sense to me, but she seemed calmer when the wrenches were lined up by size. "It is freezing," she muttered, rubbing her arms. The boiler was still off, while my friend McCoy rebuilt a pressure valve. The old stone walls held the cold like a grudge. I looked up. Her lips were a little blue. She was trying to act tough, but she was shaking. I stood, walked over to my peg rail, and took down my heavy canvas work coat. It was lined with fleece and smelled like cedar and oil. I draped it over her shoulders. "Ford, you will be cold," she said. "I am working," I lied. "I am warm. Put it on." She slid her arms into the sleeves. The coat swallowed her whole. She pulled the collar up around her neck and closed her eyes for a second. "Better?" I asked, picking up my drill. "Yeah," she said softly. "Better?" We went back to work. After a while, I moved to the section near the bathroom. I pulled up the last of the rotten boards and shined my light into the open space. My gut clenched. One of the main joists had a deep cut in it, right where a plumbing pipe ran through. Years ago, someone had taken a saw and cut right across most of the joists so the pipe would fit. Lazy, fast work. It was holding up the bathtub. "Damn," I said under my breath. "What is it?" Violet was next to me in a second. I pointed with the light. "Plumber's notch. This joist is carrying your tub, and most of it is gone. If someone fills that tub with water at the wrong angle, that whole corner could drop." She stared at the cut beam, then at me. "Can you fix it?" she asked. "I can," I said, my mind already running through shapes and sizes. "But not with anything off the shelf. I need a steel plate. Custom cut. I need to bolt it through both sides of the timber. McCoy has a plasma cutter uptown." "It is 9 at night," she said. "The joist does not care what time it is," I said. "This is a fail point. I will not leave it like this." "I am coming with you," she said. "No," I said. You stay here. Keep an eye on the buckets in the attic and the tarp over the west window. I will be back in 2 hours." She pressed her lips together. She hated being left out. "Okay," she said finally. "Drive safe." I grabbed my keys and headed toward the door. When I turned back, she was standing in the middle of the torn-up hallway in my oversized coat, holding a flashlight like she owned the dark. Something in my chest tightened hard. This stopped being about rent a long time ago, I thought. I wanted the floor under her to be solid. I wanted every pipe above her to be safe. I wanted the building to protect her even when I was not there. "Violet," I said. "Yeah?" Quote. "Do not go in the bathroom," I said. "Promise me." "I figured that part out," she said, a small smile touching her mouth. I nodded and went out into the rain, my heart beating a rhythm that had nothing to do with carpentry. McCoy's shop sat behind a row of warehouses on the far edge of town, the kind of place you only find if someone shows you once. The sign out front was half burned out, but the building glowed inside like a forge. He opened the door before I could knock. "You look like hell," he said, grinning. "Come in." McCoy was built like a fridge and moved like a dancer. He had welding burns on his forearms and a tattoo of a tape measure around one wrist. We had worked together on big jobs years ago, before I decided I was done building shiny boxes for rich people. I rolled the joist measurements across his workbench. "I need a flitch plate," I said. 3/8 steel, this long, this wide bolt pattern here. It is holding up a tub. He whistled. "Someone cut through a main joist again?" "Old job," I said. "Bad choice. I am fixing it." Quote. He studied me over the edge of the paper. "This about that brownstone you wouldn't shut up about on the phone?" he asked. "The one with the new owner and the developer sniffing around?" "Yeah," I said. He smirked. "The one with the pretty owner?" he added. I gave him a flat look. "It is about the building," I said, "and the tub not falling through." "Sure," he said, smiling. "Stand back." The next hour was all sparks and noise. The plasma cutter screamed while it sliced through the steel. The air smelled like hot metal. I watched the bright line move steady and clean. McCoy cut, ground, and drilled until the plate matched the drawing exactly. He held it up finally, face shining with sweat. "There," he said. "If that joist fails now, the rest of the house goes with it." "Good," I said. "I owe you." "You owe me a beer and a story when you finally admit what this really is," he said. "Take care of the girl and the house, Ford." In that order. I did not answer. I just loaded the steel into my truck and drove back through the rain. By the time I got home, it was past midnight. The building loomed against the sky, dark and stubborn. One light burned in the second-floor window. She had waited up. Violet opened the front door before I reached for the handle. She had my coat on over her sweatshirt, bare feet on the cold tile. "You are late," she said. Her mouth was tight, but her eyes were relieved. "You said 2 hours." "Steel took longer," I said, lifting the plate. "Worth it." She looked at the metal, then at me. "You ran out in a storm to fix a beam so my bathtub would not fall," she said. "Most people would have just put a sign on the door that said do not use." "I do not like signs," I said. "I like actual safety." Her face softened. "Come on," she said. "I made coffee. Then you can crawl around under my bathroom like it is normal." In the end, I did the install mostly alone. There was not much room under the tub, and that plate was heavy. She stayed nearby, lying on the floor just outside the cutout, passing me bolts and the socket wrench when I asked. Our fingers brushed once when she handed me a washer. Her hand was small and warm. Mine was rough and cold. Something moved through the space between us like a live wire. "Sorry," she said quietly. "For what?" I asked from under the floor. "For making you do all of this," she said. "For being in over my head. For not knowing what I was buying." "You did not make me," I said. "I chose this, and you are learning." "Still," she said. "You could have moved out and let the bank and Sterling fight it out." I tightened another bolt. "I have walked away from a lot of jobs," I said. "Too many." This one felt different. "Because of the floors?" she asked. "Because of the person who will be walking on them," I said before I could stop myself. Silence. I held still under the tub, listening to the race of my own pulse. She did not answer right away. When she did, her voice was softer. You always talk like the building is alive, she said, like it is a person. Old places remember things, I said. You can feel it. You keep 'em standing, they keep you from drifting. Quote. I tightened the last nut. All right, I said, tub will stay where it belongs now. I crawled out. We were almost face to face on the floor. The hallway light was behind her, turning her hair into a dark halo. Her eyes were on mine, and this time I did not look away first. The moment stretched. Then a drop of water hit my ear from the open joist and we both jumped. Attic leak, I said, sitting up fast. Add it to the list. She laughed once, shaky but real. Days passed. Then, a week. The building changed in small ways first. The front door became smooth and golden under the varnish. The stairs stopped groaning like they hated everyone. The hallway railings were solid under your hand instead of wobbling. Fresh plaster covered old cracks. Our routine became its own kind of gravity. She ordered takeout at weird hours and made sure there was always coffee. I left her neat pencil lines marking where future trim would go. We argued about paint colors and then sat on overturned buckets at midnight eating cold fries and watching the walls dry. Somewhere between the 6th dump run and the 3rd hardware store trip, the air between us shifted. We were still careful, still keeping a line between tenant and owner, worker and client. But our jokes were easier, our silences were not empty anymore. Then the knock came. It was early. Friday morning. I was in the kitchen rehanging cabinet doors. She was at the table with her laptop and a mess of color swatches for the lobby. Hair pulled up, glasses on. The banging on the front door was loud and impatient. Not a neighbor. Not the mail. Violet jumped, spilling coffee on her papers. Who is that? She asked. I wiped my hands on a rag and went to the front window. A white city van was parked at the curb. Behind it sat a black SUV I recognized. It is the inspector, I said, and Sterling. Her face drained of color. The inspection is not for 2 weeks, she said. We have time on the notice. Sterling has friends, I said. He got it moved up. Panic flashed over her features. She started grabbing at the mess on the table, trying to stack papers, wipe coffee, straighten her shirt all at once. They will fail us, she said. We are not done. The lobby is half painted. The trim is not back on. The attic is still a mess. Hey, I said. Violet, look at me. She did. Her eyes were wide and bright. The structure is solid, I said. The main beam is reinforced. The bad joists are fixed. The wiring is up to code. The boiler is safe. That is what matters. Trust the work. She took a breath, then another one. Do you trust me? I asked. Yes, she said, no pause. Then let them in, I said. You handle the papers. I handled the tour. I opened the door. Inspector Davis was a short man with a tired face and a clipboard. Sterling hovered just behind him with a fake look of concern. Complaint of imminent structural failure, Davis said flatly. I have to inspect today. Of course, Violet said. Her voice was steadier than her hands. Please come in. Sterling tried to follow, but I shifted my body into the doorway. Owner and inspector only, I said. Everyone else stays outside. I am just a neighbor, Sterling said. I care about safety. And I care about trespassing laws, I said. You can wait on the sidewalk. We stared at each other for a second. Then he stepped back, forced a smile. I led Davis to the basement first. Start with the worst and work up. He checked the new supports, the flitch plate, the fresh posts. He poked, stomped, and measured. He was not lazy or cruel, just cautious. Who designed this reinforcement? He asked, pointing at the steel. I did, I said. It exceeds the load requirements in your code book by 20%. Bolts are spaced on center. Steel is grade A 36. He grunted and made notes. We moved to the hallway next. He tested each step, each railing. He checked the hand clearance and the height of the newel posts. He frowned at a tiny scuff in the new paint, but it was the kind of frown that meant he was looking for something real, not pretending. Upstairs, he opened outlet covers and checked wire gauges. He tested GFCIs in the kitchen and bathroom. He saw the replaced subfloor. "You did all this yourself?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "I have my license." He made another note. "For a while, I thought we might actually be in the clear. Then we went back down to the basement." He stood under the main beam again and looked at the steel plate one more time. His eyes followed the line of bolts, then dropped to the clipboard. "I need the permit for this structural modification," he said. "The specific one stamped for beam reinforcement." "We filed for it," Violet said. She had followed us quietly, staying behind him. "I have the application in my email. It has been stuck in processing for weeks. The city is behind." "If it is not stamped and in hand, it is not approved," Davis said. "Unpermitted structural work is an automatic fail." He raised his pen. The red tag form was already clipped to the back of the board. My stomach dropped. "Inspector," I said, keeping my voice even, "look at the work. You know it is safe. You know it is better than what was here before." "That does not matter without the permit," he said, but he hesitated. Violet stepped forward. Her voice shook, but she did not step back. "We did not skip your rules," she said. "We followed them. I paid the fee. I filed the forms. If the paper is lost in your system, that is not the building's fault." He looked at her, then at me, then back at the beam. The pen hovered over the red tag. "If that permit is not on my desk by deadline," he said slowly, "I have to shut this place down." He looked at the clock on his phone. "You have 48 hours. The pen dropped to the form. For a second, I thought I heard the whole building hold its breath. 48 hours sounds like a lot until you start counting. As soon as Davis left, I locked the front door and leaned my forehead against the wood. My muscles were tight from holding everything together in front of him. Violet stood in the middle of the lobby, arms wrapped around herself, eyes far away. "We are dead, aren't we?" she said quietly. "No," I said. "We are just on a clock. There is a difference." "We already filed the permit," she said. "It has been weeks. What if they never stamp it? What if it is just sitting in some pile?" "Then we go find it," I said. The permit office was the kind of place that could crush hope without even trying. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Old posters about safety rules peeled on the walls. A line of tired people sat on plastic chairs, each holding some envelope like it was their last chance. The clerk behind the glass looked like he had seen every excuse in the world. "We filed a structural modification permit 6 weeks ago," Violet told him, "for a beam reinforcement on West Maple. We got a confirmation email, but not the stamped paper." "Name?" he said, voice flat. "Violet Roberts." He typed. And typed, and kept typing. "Nothing under that name stamped yet," he said at last. "Still in review, I guess." "We do not need guesses," I said. "We need the file." He shrugged, already looking past us at the next person in line. Violet started pacing in the little space by the window. Her fingers picked at the edge of her jacket. The sound grated on my nerves, not because of her, but because I knew that restless frustration, being trapped by a slow system. "When we dropped off the application," I said, "you gave us something, a little yellow slip with a stamp and a number." "That is only an intake receipt," the clerk said. "Do you remember where you put yours?" I asked Violet. Her eyes went wide. "Glove box," she said. "I think, maybe." "Stay here," I said. "Do not move. Do not let him forget your face." I jogged back to the car, weaving through a mess of parked vans and honking taxis. The glove box was a war zone of old maps and dead pens, but the slip was there, folded into quarters, the ink smudged from time. Intake 409. Date. Clerk's stamp. I went back inside and slid it under the glass. "You signed for this," I said. "So did someone in the back. The file exists. Find it." His eyes flicked down to the stamp. Something in his face changed. Not much. Just a small flicker of, "I am stuck with this now." He typed again, slower this time. Then he got up and went through a door behind him without a word. Violet came to stand next to me. Close. Shoulder to shoulder. "I cannot breathe," she whispered. "Then breathe with me," I said. "In, out, Just like sanding, slow. She did it. I could feel how hard she was trying, right there next to me. After what felt like an hour, the clerk came back with a thick folder. "Misfiled under the property address instead of your name," he said. "Looks like the engineer signed off 3 days ago. No one processed it." He pulled out a form with a raised seal on the bottom. The metal stamp had left a deep circle with the city logo. He slid it across the counter. "Here," he said, "you are approved." I held the paper like it might dissolve. The seal was cold under my thumb. Real. "What time does Davis's office close?" I asked. 5, the clerk said. "You have about 30 minutes. We ran. Traffic was a bad joke. An accident up the main road had turned every light red. Cars sat shoulder to shoulder, horns blasting. We got halfway there before everything stopped. "We are not moving," Violet said, checking the clock on the dash. Her voice was high and thin. "We are not going to make it." "Pull over," I said. "Anywhere." She slid into a spot by a fire hydrant. "You cannot leave the truck here," she said. "Then tell the cop who writes the ticket to send the bill to Sterling," I said. "Stay with the car. I will take the stairs." I got out, permit folder under my arm, and started running. Boots on pavement, breath burning my lungs. I cut through side streets and alleys I knew from hauling supplies. I dodged a group of teenagers and a man walking 3 dogs that did not want to be walked. When I hit the city building, I did not wait for the elevator. I took the stairs 2 at a time, counting floors under my breath. My heart pounded in my ears. Davis's door was half closed. He was packing his bag, coat on the chair. He looked up when I knocked once and stepped in. "You are cutting it close," he said. I put the permit on his desk. Not a dramatic slam, just straight down in front of him. "Stamped," I said. "Filed. Found. On time." He picked it up, ran his fingers over the seal, compared the number to his notes. He checked the clock on the wall. Then he sighed. "All right," he said. "Beam reinforcement approved. Inspection passed." I did not realize I had been holding my breath until it left me all at once. "Thank you," I said. "I did not do you a favor," he said. "You did the work. You followed the rules. That is how it is supposed to go." On my way out, I almost ran straight into Sterling in the lobby. He stood near the security desk, checking his watch like he owned the place. When he saw me, his eyes narrowed. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "Delivering mail," I said. He looked past me toward the stairs like he could see through concrete. "You think you bought yourself time," he said. "You cannot fight the market, son. That building is dead." I stepped closer, enough that he had to tilt his chin up to keep eye contact. "It is funny," I said. "You keep calling it dead, but every time you show up, you are the one trying to cut its life short." He snorted. "You fit some new boards? You think that changes city politics?" "No," I said, "but it changes the fact that you cannot call it unsafe anymore." Quote. His smile dropped for half a second before he caught it. "Enjoy your little victory," he said. "Hope you like patching leaks for the rest of your life." "I do not patch," I said. "I rebuild." I walked past him and out into the late afternoon light before he could answer. By the time I got back to the brownstone, the sky had gone a soft gray. The front door glowed warm behind the new glass panels. The building looked different. Straighter. Proud. Violet was on the front steps, arms wrapped around her knees, staring down the street like she could drag me back with her eyes. When she saw me, she jerked to her feet so fast she almost tripped. "Well?" she called. "We passed," I said. She let out a sound like the air leaving a balloon and ran down the steps. Then she did something I did not see coming. She jumped straight into my arms. I caught her out of reflex. My hands locked around her waist. She buried her face in my neck and laughed and sobbed all at once. "You did it," she said against my shoulder. "We did it." I corrected. She leaned back just enough to see my face. Her eyes were wet and bright. Her hands were hooked behind my neck, fingers in the back of my hair. "Sterling called," she said. "He took his offer off the table. Said he does not buy problem properties." "He lost," I said. "We won," she said. We stood there for a second too long, still holding on like the sidewalk might give way. Then she seemed to realize she was in the air and laughed again. "You can put me down," she said. "I know," I said, but my hands did not move. She slid slowly to the ground, her body brushing mine the whole way down. When her boots hit the pavement, we were still close. Too close to call it friendly. "So," she said, "the deal, the rent for repairs, it is done now. The ledger is clear." "Yeah," I said. Something heavy dropped in my stomach. "I will write you a check for next month, for regular rent, if you still want me in 1B. She blinked at me like I had said something stupid. "You think I want your money?" she asked. "I am a carpenter, Violet," I said. "Money and work is what I have." She shook her head and reached into her pocket. When her hand came back out, she was holding a small brass key on a simple ring. "I do not want a tenant," she said. "I want a partner." She took my hand, the one with the scars and the old nail marks, and turned it palm up. Then she set the key there and closed my fingers around it. "This is for the workshop," she said, "and the apartment upstairs, the one with the little balcony and the view of the maple tree. My dad always meant it to be the owner's unit. I want you in it." I stared at my closed fist. "You are offering me the best unit in the building," I said slowly. "In exchange for what?" "For staying," she said, "for keeping the bones strong, for telling me when something sounds wrong before it breaks, for not disappearing when the work is done." "I am not neat," I warned her. "I leave sawdust on everything. I work late. I drink coffee at stupid hours. I listen to the pipes like they are talking." Her mouth curved. "I like the smell of sawdust," she said, "and someone needs to listen. I am tired of being the only one." I opened my hand and looked at the key. It was plain, worn at the teeth from years of use. It felt heavier than steel. Then I did the thing I had been holding back since the day she shoved a notice at my chest. I stepped in, slid one arm around her waist, and pulled her close. I did not rush it. I gave her half a second to lean away. She did not. Her fingers curled in the front of my shirt and tugged me down. I kissed her. There was no hesitation, no question. Just the warm, steady press of her mouth against mine, and the feeling of finally matching a joint you have been shaping for days. No wobble, no gap. Just fit. When we broke apart, our foreheads stayed touching. "Do you know what is funny?" she said softly. "What?" "The floor does not sound wrong anymore," she said. "When I walk down the hall, it creaks, but it feels solid." I smiled. "That is because it is," I said. "I made sure." She laughed, the sound low and full. It moved through my chest and settled somewhere far under my ribs, deeper than I liked to admit. For years, old buildings had been the only voices I trusted. I could tell you the story of a house by the way its stairs complained, by the way water moved through its pipes. People were harder, messier, less honest. This place was different. Now, when the boards groan outside my bedroom at night, it is not a warning. It is Violet walking toward the kitchen to make tea. When the pipes knock in the walls, it is the radiators waking up on a cold morning, not a threat of failure. The brownstone is not a shipwreck anymore. It is a home. For both of us. If you enjoyed this story, hit like and subscribe for more romantic audio stories just like this.